Have you ever considered how even the most powerful and enduring institutions can experience profound internal struggles and face widespread calls for reform? Simony, nepotism, the sale of indulgences, and pluralism were key forms of corruption that significantly weakened the Catholic Church, eroding its moral authority and fostering widespread discontent that ultimately contributed to the Protestant Reformation. These practices became widespread because the Church, as the dominant religious and political power in medieval and early modern Europe, had immense wealth and influence, which attracted individuals driven by personal gain rather than spiritual devotion. The lack of robust oversight mechanisms, combined with the entrenched power structures of the ecclesiastical hierarchy, allowed these abuses to persist and even flourish over centuries. As the Church accumulated vast properties and became deeply intertwined with secular power, the lines between spiritual mission and worldly ambition often blurred, creating fertile ground for these systemic issues. Understanding these historical forms of corruption provides crucial context for appreciating the profound changes that swept through Europe during the Reformation period. It helps us to see that the calls for reform were not simply theological disputes but were deeply rooted in moral and ethical grievances against the Church's practical conduct. Recognizing these systemic failures allows for a more nuanced perspective on the motivations behind the schism and the subsequent reshaping of the religious landscape. One particularly egregious practice was the widespread sale of indulgences, which effectively commodified salvation by promising reductions in purgatorial punishment in exchange for monetary donations. This practice was heavily criticized for exploiting the faithful and generating immense wealth for the Church, funding projects like the rebuilding of St. Peter's Basilica. Another telling example is the practice of absenteeism, where high-ranking clergy held multiple benefices but rarely visited their parishes, neglecting their pastoral duties while still collecting income. These structural deficiencies highlighted a growing disconnect between the Church's spiritual ideals and its temporal realities. Ultimately, the various forms of corruption within the Catholic Church created a deep crisis of legitimacy and trust among the populace. This erosion of confidence made the Church vulnerable to challenges from reformers, demonstrating that even a dominant institution can be fundamentally weakened when its actions consistently diverge from its foundational principles and moral obligations, paving the way for transformative historical movements.